going to take you guys through preparation for a lower body workout. So we're going to look at some soft tissue work for the feet. We walk around on our feet all the time, but how much love do we actually give them? Really, really important before we start to put load through our body. We look after our feet. So we look at our feet. We're going to look at the hip flexor and quad area as well, so anterior hip. And we're also going to look at the glutes for our soft tissue work. So really trying to get into rehydration of the tissue before we go and ask it to activate and work really hard. Then we're looking at some mobility and stability. We're going to go through 3 different exercises for the ankle, hip, and we're also going to look at some work for the thoracic spine, believe it or not, because that's going to come under a lot of strain. Say, imagine if we're front squatting or back squatting, lunging. There's so much work going through our upper back. We have to make sure it's ready to work. And then finally, we're going to finish off with some movement preparation. So we're going to look at some different lunge patterns, again, to try and get everything firing before we go in and add weight to the body. We're going to start from the ground up for our leg day preparation. So I'm going to use the peanut on the plate, and I'm going to get some soft tissue activation into the bottom of my foot. So nice simple one. Get the plate set up. So I want to have my foot just on one side of the peanut, and again, there's no real right place to have your foot. It's whatever feels a little bit tight, like it's got a little bit of tension today. So set everything up, and just making sure as well that I'm not bolt upright, so I'm getting loads of vibration, so I can just tilt forwards a little bit. And again, I don't want to put too much pressure through the peanut. Sometimes it's really tempting to get into that trigger point. Just want to ease off a little bit. Play around with different foot positions as well. So I can get onto the inside of my foot and get onto the outside of my foot. And just exploring how that feels today. If I've been running, I might get a build-up of tension in certain parts. So I'll look for about 30 to 45 seconds on one side, and I'll do exactly the same thing on the other foot. For the hip, we're going to change from the peanut to the front roller. So we're really trying to target this area here, so top of the quad, thigh, and getting right into that hip flexor. So there are many different parts that are going to feel tension. So again, we just want to play around with 3 different movement patterns, forwards, backwards, left and right, a little bit of rotation, and just exploring how that tissue feels today. So get the plate set up, get rolling in a good position. So I'm just going to start forward and backwards. Put my hand on the floor. Feels a little bit more comfortable through there. So just forwards and backwards, finding any hot spots for today. And then from there, I'm just going to go left and right. Again, if something feels a little bit tight, I might just hold for a few more seconds on there. And then finally finishing off with a bit of rotation, so really trying to drive my shoulders away. That was 10 seconds in each position. Could go for 15 to 20 seconds in each position, depending on how much time you've got. But hopefully that will just help to release everything through here. So the last piece of our soft tissue work is going to be for the glutes, the powerhouse of the body. So we're going to use the roller again. It feels quite nice on the roller, plus I can target a little bit more of the glute without having to move around constantly on the peanut. So nice, simple way to activate everything in the glute. I'm just going to sit on it. I'm going to initially try and find a piece of tension really in the muscle. And then I'm just going to come into a quite common glute stretch position. And then all I'm going to do is just rocking up and down, so forwards and backwards on the roller. Again, just if it feels a little bit tight, I might just stay on that position for a little bit longer. And then simply I'm going to find that hot spot. I'm just going to rock left and right, making sure I don't sit up straight and avoid the vibration in my head, so just tipping forwards a little bit. And then finally stay on that hot spot. I'm just going to rotate. I can use my arm to drive a little bit more if I want. Just dragging the tissue along the roller. So 3 different ways to mobilise the glutes: forwards, backwards, left and right, and then a little bit of rotation, really trying to hydrate that tissue. First mobility, stability exercise. Again, working from the ground up like we did for our soft tissue work. We're going to target the ankle. So, up onto the plate, just going to work through 3 planes of movement. So, just going to drive forwards, sideways, and then a little bit of rotation. So, we're just going to work through that in a matrix. You're probably going to do that little pattern of movement about 10 times. So, 30 reps in total. Really important to be aware, we want to be in this athletic position, so knees slightly bent, driving forwards the entire time. So making sure that I don't stand bolt upright, so I'm not getting too much vibration up into the head. In terms of range of movement, as with all of our warm-up drills, just got to find a safe range to work through. Additional benefit, even though we're targeting the ankle, you're going to get a nice bit of work here in the glute maybe, and feel that working, and through the quad. So single leg stability, and all we've done is really targeted the ankles, try and mobilise it. So when we go into, say, our squat, we're hopefully going to get a little bit more range of movement out. Mobility exercise number 2 is going to be for our hip flexor. So just going to kneel down onto the plate, and all we're going to do is drive the pelvis forwards and backwards, so we get a nice pull through this the back hip. So for me right now it's the left hip. A couple of things to note: what's going on with my foot? If I'm in this position now, I'm going to get a bit of big toe mobilization, which can be great for jumping, sprinting, any sort of athletic movements that we might do. But also, you just keep it flat, so I get a nice little bit of a pull through my ankle, so a bit of extra ankle mobility. There's no right or wrong; it's good to do both. I'm also going to use my arms as a driver to get a little bit more stretch through the hip. So I'll demo that now with the plate running. So looking for about 10 reps in each position. So pelvis always moving forwards. Just going to drive the arms up through the sagittal plane. Get an additional benefit here. Bit more stretch through the hip, but also I'm going to get a little bit of thoracic mobility as well. From here, I'm going to drive in the frontal plane. So again, really activating the thoracic at the same time as mobilising my hip. And then finish off the transverse plane with some rotation. So it's opening up the whole joint. I would then go and do the exact same process on my right side. So last mobility drill, we're going to look at the thoracic and the lats. So commonly overlooked when we're going to do a lower body workout, but your thoracic is going to do so much work regardless of the exercises that you choose on your lower body session or even on a leg day. So we want to try and get into it using the plate. So you've got a couple of options here. Option number 1, going to come into sort of a very traditional position, hands on, and then getting into here, mobilising the shoulders, getting a nice stretch through the lats and the thoracic. That's option number 1. However, I'm a huge fan of a little bit of single arm work. So bringing the roller into play and adding in a little bit more rotation, which is really going to get a bigger lat stretch than if we just stay in the sagittal plane. So we'll stick the plate on. 30 seconds on each side. In terms of the tempo of the movement, I quite like a little pause in that end range, just so I can really feel that stretch. Breathing as well. Find a nice steady tempo to breathe in. And then again, just trying to explore maybe a little bit more range if we can get through there as that stretch goes on. So about 30 seconds on each side if you're going to do the single arm one, or you could probably go about 45 seconds in that double position. You know, both movements really important, especially if you're going to be overhead squatting or doing any of the Olympic lifts. The last piece of our lower body warm-up is going to involve some preparation. So we're going to go for lunges. We're going to do a little lunge matrix, and the lunge is going to be exactly the same every time, just a sagittal plane step. but we're going to integrate a bit of upper body movement through driving our arms in 3 different planes of movement. So we're going to alternate left and right. I'll just talk you through it and then I'll do a set. So nice and simple. I want to find a comfortable range of movement so that I'm not reaching too far onto the plate. Remember, it's the warm up. We want to prepare the body, not set any personal bests. So I'm just going to step onto the plate, just reach up. I'm not precious about the range of movement I'm getting. It can be more like a step rather than a lunge. So I've just got forwards, backwards, driving my arms up. Then arms are going to stay up. I'm just going to lean over to one side in the frontal plane, and then the final one is going to be rotation. I'm going to rotate over that front leg, like so. So I'll stick the plate on. So just alternating, trying to drive the pelvis forwards, leaning across through the frontal plane, and then finally a bit of rotation. So there's only 6 movements there. Probably recommend doing that circuit 2 or 3 times, whatever feels comfortable, but the whole purpose behind that last little piece there is to tighten everything that we've just previously done and prepare ourselves for getting under a barbell or just simply adding some load to our lunges or squats.